Hello there. I am Ren, and this is Scope Creep. We're doing another episode this week with the developers of Gods, and that's Aiden. We met him last week, but it was on a private stream, so I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what we did. We met up with Aiden, who has been working on Gods for a year, or it's been released a while back, but he worked on Gods for a year and released the game, and then since then has been receiving reviews and looking at how he can improve the game, iterate upon the game, make it a better onboarding experience, make it a clearer game for players to enjoy in upcoming updates. And so what we did at UX is Fine is we jumped into the game with him and we played an hours long session and gave sort of a free form open review of the first time user experience of the game. And from that, and what we're going to be talking about this week, we create a punch list and some ideas for iterations that we're going to run through today with Aiden. And let us introduce Aiden. We can't see Aiden, by the way, because it doesn't have a camera. So we're going to look at my screen and my face for the stream. But Aiden, say hello.
Hello, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's coming through on the stream. So we're going to check that before we get too far into this. But Aiden, say
Before we
hello.
go too deep. Hello.
Yep, I heard you. Yeah, cool. Right, so we're good there. Actually, I'm going to turn up. Say hello one more time. Say hello for
Hello,
me.
everybody.
Hello, everybody. All right. And then it would have been good if I had that unmuted. Say hello one more time. Say hello for
Hello,
me.
everybody.
Yeah, sweet. All right. Yeah, I had my PC volume like dialed right down because I was playing music on my last stream. Okay, cool. We are good to go. Let's have a look then. So, how have you been? How have you been since last week?
Good, yeah. Just been sort of busy getting the game ready and trying to get an update out. But I am excited to see what you guys came up with. See what
Is
we can
that
do to make it
for
better.
hunters, eh?
Hey, what's that?
That's for hunters.
Oh yeah, it's like Next Fest coming up soon.
Next
So
fest coming up. Yep, no way. Well, I hope it goes well. Looking forward to that. Yeah,
cheers.
yeah. In the meantime, we've been cracking through, looking at all the screens. We've been looking at a review here, transcript of our play session, and then some ideas for iteration that I've stack ranked, like we spoke about, on things that, at least from my perspective, I think would be either an easy iteration or B an impactful iteration, and then
Okay.
things down here like some players can't find how to host a session. We've got like right at the bottom of the list. Maybe there's something we can
Okay.
tackle with that. Again, that is actually easy to fix and solve, but nowhere near as important as enemy telegraphs.
hmm
And so let let's just jump in, shall we? I'll go over the punch list first. So what we got here? We have a lot on combat, a couple on objectives, a bunch on sort of like gameplay and clarity stuff. At the top of the list, we've got enemy telegraph attacks, and so one of the things that came up the most was that issue that we know about, where players
Yeah.
get frustrated at the game, right? And either they're getting hit from behind, or they're not knowing or how to deal with an enemy when they're attacking, or they're getting attacked by a bunch of people. And so there's a bunch of stuff that we could look at here. And firstly, I was thinking with the indication of especially lethal enemy attacks, like the big hammer guy or the spearman,
Uh-huh.
is having something like this kind of like danger glow, which you'll see in like Jedi Survivor, where it's like you should do
Mm.
something right now. This is prompting you to do something, and then we need to teach the player that that's either a block, a guard, or a kick, something to interrupt the
Yeah.
attack. So we could look into that. I think that'd be quite simple, as a straight up iteration, and then that being on particularly those more difficult enemies, we might want to do something on the lesser so enemies, I suppose you would call them, but something about like highlighting their weapons while they're doing that telegraph run at you, so that you're like a glint, like even if it's like a star glint, whereas one of those like here,
Yeah, like the
this
Sekiro glint.
Yeah, so as they're running, your attention is on that weapon, and you're like, "Oh no, bad time."
Mm.
Um, also, some other
Which, if I
things.
remember correctly, I think we did that for the
Crossbow guys.
crossbow before
Yeah,
he's
which did
about
help
to
because
shoot.
you can be like, "Oh no, that's a." So yeah, there might be some crossover there that we need to be careful about. But one
Or
thing I
even
was,
just, the tech might exist already, which
yes, the
would
tech
make it.
exactly. You're right. It does, yeah. So nice, easy lift. Yeah. Um, just double check some stuff. Okay, cool. Um, jumping back over to the live stream. Yeah, we got some views anyway. So, all right. So, I was thinking about a combat circle. This is a
Hmm.
heavy lift. This is one of those. I found a nice article on it that basically gives me the
Yeah.
blueprint. And now that we have the glory of ChatGPT, if we so decide to use it, or I might, um, to give a breakdown of this website, for example, like Super Google, um,
Hmm.
to give me, a quick way to implement this in guards. And obviously, we know what this is, right? This is Arkham. This is Jedi
Hmm.
Survivor. So many games. Uh,
I think the key difference in that instance is that those games tend to be single player,
hmm.
single player or third person character action games.
Yeah, third
So
person. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, and whereas our game, the environments are a lot tighter. We're talking about like corridors, buildings, stuff like that, and so I wonder if the cost outweighs the benefit a little bit because if you're in a corridor, it doesn't matter how wide a berth they try to give you, they're still going to be constrained by the corridor.
Yeah, we could think about this differently in the corridor sense, where instead of a combat circle, it's a combat queue.
Mm.
So it's those moments when you're in that corridor and you bust down the door and you come in, you see a guy right in front of you, and then within maybe seconds, in some cases, especially if there's been a reinforcement event, you'll have just chaos surrounding you. And maybe that's a good thing.
I
But there
do
is maybe an
find
idea there where
that.
like a couple of guys hang out at the back, and you're able to like deal with the guy in front of you and sort of got maybe got two guys coming at you, but the rest of them are sort of just waiting for you in the back. And
I do.
the
Mm.
intent from my perspective was that if we're having a hard time with telegraphing, any number of things that we do in terms of colors and stuff, when there's so much coming at you, is just gonna become noisier. If you know what I mean, like if we made
Mm.
an enemy attack red, but then every enemy in front of you is coming at you and attacking, now every enemy is red. Now there's no hierarchy, there's no clear route to win. You're just being told a lot of information. I suppose the information says, hey, you should block or kick, which is maybe a good thing. But there was something there that I was thinking was,
Mm.
is there anything
Do
you
you
think
think?
about that? That
Yeah. Do
sort
you
of,
think that the same? Do you think the same effect could be achieved by implementing a minimum distance between enemies?
yeah, that sort of thing, right? We had something like that at one point in that game. For anyone watching, I say we because I've worked on this project as well in the past. Um, it was called in Unreal. It was just avoidance, and you ended up with a problem with that particular ship, like pre-shipped element of Unreal, where you they would push each other off ledges and off the navigation mesh.
Hmm.
So yes,
Yeah.
what you're saying, yes, but not using that technique that we tried once and was cool, and using something else just to give them that minimum distance. And so yeah, they're not bunching up as much, and now you've got some. It's about having that white space between them to maybe make some choices,
Hmm.
right? Okay, well
I would be
that's cool.
concerned as well about throwing the baby out with the bathwater a little bit because sometimes it's really fun to watch your friend kick
Yeah,
down a door
absolutely.
and run into a room, and then you hear them scream, and then nine people come out behind them, like following them out the
Yeah.
door.
No, I do. I
Um,
think that chaos is one of those. We noted that while we were playing, right? We
yeah.
were saying there's no point trying to match UX of certain games because they've been doing it for years.
Mm.
and our game is more jank chaotic and wants to lean into that feral sort of realm, right?
We could also try randomizing the speed at which they move, and so if you've got two units of the same type, um, a runner.
mm,
Right now, they both run at the same speed, and more or less everyone runs at the same speed. And I do wonder if we were to randomize the speed at which they move, it would be a little bit
natural
more.
dispersion.
Yeah, exactly. Instead of one big Zerg rush of enemies, there's a nice bit of natural order will be
Yeah.
imposed on the rate at the order in which they come at you.
Mhm. Um, how long have we got here? Just double checking the time. Okay, we've got 20 minutes or so. So as long as we get through each of these little bits, so I want to
Mm.
spend. Obviously, we're going to spend the most time on the top ones because I think they're going to be the most important. So what? So
Do,
so
do you
let's
have
just get
a?
some. Huh?
Sorry,
Go on.
I was going to say it might help if you've got like an emoji for like a green tick and a blue tick or
Yeah,
something
I do.
where
There's some
we can
stuff.
put a green tick next to the ones that are like definite locked in and a blue tick next to the maybe and then an X next to the like
A stamp here, yeah.
probably.
So
Yeah.
so do we like this idea with the red? You can see my screen, eh?
I can. Um, do I like the unblockable attack? Yes.
So something to possibly also put in the tutorial, like very verbosely be like, that guy's flashing red. You should kick, throw an item, or block. Like you've got
Yeah.
a bunch of options, and maybe this should also be added to the tutorial.
And that'll reduce the rage because people hate the spinner, the hammer spinner. And
Yeah,
it's not
he's
that they hate the enemy, it's that they don't know that it's unblockable, I think.
yeah, yeah. It's like how do you deal with him? It's like if
Mm,
you know that your options are block, throw, and kick, and in his case, he's a danger blade. He's just like, well, I have to throw something.
yeah.
Um, so we'll look into that. Um, the glint that we already have,
Yes.
we could try putting that on any enemy that is literally currently attacking you
Or yeah, just
in your like
trigger
local
the
area.
glint event before the attack event.
Yeah, yeah. So we like this.
Yeah.
Uh, let's use
I
that
would
as
go so
instead.
far as to say we love it.
Yeah, we like that. Yeah, we'll use like for tentatives or like secondary. Okay, so we like that. Yeah, like Metal Gear had this like full screen thing, which is obviously it's just going to be mental for us. These guys had glowing weapons, so that was another thing that I thought would be nice. Is if the glint is too much, actually just highlighting the weapon in like red itself, like just the weapon, not the whole character, might be nice. But then everyone's weapon in your local area is going to be glowing red. Um, let's just try the
Or we combine instead of making the unblockable attack on the character, we make the unblockable attack on the weapon. So
yeah
the hammer will glow red. I would be wary about leaving the glow on weapons permanently just because it'll just become like one more thing for the player to pass. So it's like just before they attack it will
yeah
go
exactly.
red.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, that's the same here. This is like as he's
Mm,
doing this, you're supposed to. I think there's another element here that you're supposed to press something on the way, and then this is Revengeance, I think, and it's just
yeah,
saying like this is about to hit you, and it's I guess it's just clean, like a little bit more, I guess, diegetic than.
yeah,
Um, or, anyway, okay, and this one as well is a similar idea. So this is yeah, this is what we're talking about, but red.
yeah. Yeah, in
So
my head, those two are the same thing. The unblockable attack prompt and then weapon glow are the
yeah,
same item.
I liked it on the whole enemy in particular because that is a
Mm,
bigger mass, and so and in particular, I
true.
guess for the most deadly enemies. So the spinner that you were talking about, um, which we didn't encounter during the playtest last week. The but the hammer person and someone else we did meet up with, and so
Wizards, I guess, would have it because they're fireballs. You need to
yeah, I think
yeah.
there's yeah, whatever we decide, we'll have to catch up again on once there's an implementation. Well, actually, we'll have to catch up just in general on the range because there is a big range of enemies in your game.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we like these things. Let's move on to
Yeah.
the next step. Had some things on. Is it worth adding, more delay to the wind-ups, slower attack rates or swings for these enemies? Because we played on easy, and that new player was who was Brian was getting smashed a lot. I was as well. I haven't played in a long time.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe with some of these things, we'll get a better recognition of what to do. One thing that we came across was that you actually didn't really go in with a shield. There wasn't much prompting on guarding, like in the actual gameplay
Hmm.
moments. So there is some stuff around that. Real-time gameplay hints that I'll get onto when we look at the UI wireframe. Okay, so combat. Player doesn't know if the enemy is restable or
Just
dead. Oh yeah.
real quickly as well. I really like the Batman Arkham
Hmm.
indicators above the head.
Oh yeah. This yeah.
Yeah, I think that's perfect. I think that's really good at just giving the player that information.
Hmm.
And also, if I remember well in Batman Arkham, they've got different kind of notifications above the head to say like this is a red one, it's unblockable. So maybe there's a way to solve two or three problems with one solution there.
Yes. If we did this, I would away with the glint because I think
Mm,
um,
it's a bit much.
yeah, you start getting into the territory of like trying to parse too much information, like you were saying earlier. Um, I'd I'd start with the weapons stuff. I think.
Mm,
Yeah, because it's more didactic. It's less like spatial elements that
mm,
are like imagine that spatial
true.
element on like even just like three or four enemies in front of you, and it's like they are all attempting to attack you.
True. Yeah, yeah.
um, what I think the problem, and this would feel better, and either of them would feel better in this case. Is one problem that I feel is still there is that when that enemy gets up to you, he sort of telegraphs. He goes runs at you, but then that moment he reaches your radius, it smashes you in the face or swings a weapon. There still isn't, I think, enough of that wind up. So and we'll find this out when we put these elements on this character. Whether we do, I'll stick a thumbs up on this because we like this, so we can come
Mm,
back. Whatever we do, we're going to notice actually how long that window is because if that window is like half a second and we barely see this, we'll know that that's a lot of the reason for frustration because players are like, I see him coming, and then there isn't actually a wind up. But maybe that's not important. Maybe in this game it's supposed to be, well, he's coming at me, he's red, he's got this thing on his head, he's running around me. I should kick, block, or throw. That moment as he
yeah.
runs at you technically is the wind up, I suppose.
I wonder as well, hearing you talk about kick, block, and throw, if that's a kind of language that we want to codify
Yeah.
for the players, and we could tie that into the color of the exclamation over the head.
Yes. Yes. Well, I was going to say in Legacy they've got a couple of colors on this. So it's like I think it's red for unblockable, blue for unstaggerable. So like you can't
Oh,
block this, you
perfect.
better move out the way. You technically can block this, but like your regular hits aren't going to stagger the character. And then there's like yellow overlay for an enemy that's like stunned, and he's currently in
Yeah,
a state where you can do something again. And then I think that's it. Oh, there's blue and green. There's green for like that person's healing. Blue for they're like out of mana or something like that. So there's a whole bunch of colors, and this is like a PvP like game. But anyway, um, there was some notes on colors down here that I want to.
yeah,
Yeah, so when they're active, nothing. When they're attacking, a weapon glint or that red outline that says like block,
yeah.
kick, or throw now. I was thinking when you kick them, two things. when you kick, block, or stun, you know they get those stars over their head right now.
Yeah.
That either that's not clear enough, it's spinning too fast and you can't read what it is, so maybe slowing it down might help growing those stars.
Yeah.
But more importantly, making the whole character glow yellow to some degree that matches with the stars. And then there was a conversation point I wrote somewhere else in the doc that was like, what if at that point, if you hit them one more time or kick them or do something again, that you actually knock them down to the ground? So it's like you're doing a series of actions that's the best thing you could have done. I had a and just on that note, I had a quick play this morning. When I kick an enemy and he gets the 3 stars, if I actually tap him again, he goes out of stun, and he attacks me again.
Mm.
I did notice
Yeah.
that it removed. So I kick the spear guy, and he's like, oh, and he's in this animation, and he won't carry on at me while he's in that montage. But as soon as I
Yeah.
hit him and he plays a different montage, he snaps straight back out and goes straight for me. It doesn't go back into stun. So I'm like, oh, he's stunned. Now's my chance. And then I start wailing on him, and then he starts wailing back. I'm like, what? So
Yeah.
with something more of a
Yeah.
boost, if it had that yellow highlight, we would have noticed that a lot sooner. I think in terms of
True. True.
gameplay, right? Because you'd be like, oh wait, he left stun. There's some stuff there. What
Yeah.
do you think about? Sorry, what do you think about like if you've kicked, stunned, or done the expected action, the action that we want you to do to deal with this person, or blocked his hit so he goes back into a stance? Um, is there a benefit to being able to then follow it up with like a combo and like knock him down to the ground to deal with that person temporarily and move on to other targets or arrest them? Or what I've noticed is obviously they have like 10 health or something, so you've really got to smash in on them. You'd lose that, I suppose.
Yeah. So is the question, is there a benefit to keeping them in the stun state?
I guess I'm kind of answering my own question actually. There was a thought process somewhere in this doc that was like, when they're
Mm.
yellow, that seems like a prompt to do something.
It's like Doom, right? It's like Doom 2016 when they
Yes.
enter that
Yeah.
state. That's your
Yeah.
permission in
To
this
go and
particular
smash them up or do some fatality move on them. Yeah.
exactly. And I
Um.
think
Yeah.
yeah, if we do go down the road of having like the yellow stun state, you can't have them leave the stun state if you follow up and like pummel them. Um,
Yeah.
because then
We want to train the player to that is the right thing. You're taking advantage.
exactly, yeah. Because then otherwise we're telling the player, hey, congrats, you stunned this guy. The best thing to do now is nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Um.
Yeah.
So it's either fix the problem where they exit stun, or I had this other idea that was if you then go up to them and smack them while they've got the stars around their head, you got like
Like
basically
instant.
a great blow on them and they go crippled down to the ground for which I think is like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And if you are in the mood to kill or in the mood to arrest, like that's your chance to do that. On the subject of arrest, KO and down but not out, they are
Yeah.
interactable, but they don't have a white outline. So I
Okay.
wondered
Yeah.
if that was a nice way to tell the player a little bit more, like, hey, that guy is down, and you can actually put cuffs on him now because he's
Yeah. I
interactable.
think
Yeah,
that's like keeps it nice and consistent, and players will learn that interactable things have white
white
outlines.
outlines. Yeah, although I'm going to break that paradigm in a moment. I had some other ideas as well on the outlines and coloring them. So, like green for health items, for example, was one idea. Um,
Yeah.
but there's some other ideas because we noticed that like where do I get the healing items was also a problem. Um, there was just a conversation point around not knowing when a dead enemy is like not part of the combat, despite being grayed out and everyone else has stood up. And I think in some scenarios when it's like a foggy day or a rainy day, everything's kind of grey.
Yeah.
So I was wondering whether to add like a little bit more grunge blood, like like a full body overlay that like basically makes them look kind of like a
Yeah. Just
burnt ashen look, where they're just like it's a noise of like shapes, and so obviously that's no longer the character. Um, because at the moment
Yeah,
what we
like
have is, especially if you're colorblind, there's no difference. Or if
yeah,
you're
just something to show that they've been
definitely
neutralized.
downed, yeah. I was also thinking about flattening their Z axis, like, so they're like flattened across the floor, but that's sort of silly stuff. So there's something there that we could play with, and again, it's cheap. It's an overlay material. We can just apply it to that downed body and try it out.
Yeah, or we fade them out a lot quicker.
We never.
We
Oh, for
like
the
the chaos
grey
of,
stuff, or they never get
or
removed from the level, do they?
no, like we like it for the chaos, but I guess is there much of a benefit if you've cleared an area to having them?
Yeah, I remember when we were
Uh,
running back through the level and we get this sense that like we had an impact here and we did this. Like this is our place that
yeah,
we made, and it gives you that sense of like having belonged to the world, having existed and caused an impact. Similar to that post-it note game that we did, and we sort of had the same evaluation. It was like,
yeah. It needs to
this
be
is
some. There needs to be some kind of visible state change. Maybe if,
that's what I was thinking.
well,
Noise on
again,
them,
like
like this like blood splattered all over. It's like, that guy is dead. Um,
yeah, I think that's the way to go about it.
we could try that out. Okay, so what was the next one? Oh, it's getting hot in this country now. Players don't know if the enemy's restable dead. We spoke about that. We spoke about all of this. That's awesome. Objectives. Mission objectives are unclear mid-level. That was the one that I put next above like the preferred behavior of players, which may be also resolved by all these color ideas.
Yeah.
And a little bit more tutorialization on when that enemy is red or their weapon is red or they're red and their weapon has got a glint on it. That's the moment to do one of the 3 codified actions. Let's hope that solves a lot
Mm.
of things. For the mission stuff, I did do. This is the original UI for anyone watching,
Yeah.
which is currently cracking on over there. And so we had this stuff down here with the players. We've got this long health bar. We've got the enemy reinforcements and this dual purpose. And so one thing that came up was, can we raise the hierarchy of the objective? And I had this. This is my little breakdown. So making the danger little bar, because it's like this little thin bar. You barely
Yeah.
notice it moving. And so imagine if it was like a thick bar with like dashed lines like traveling across, and it's like, oh, it's growing, or it's got some arrows that are like, and it's like dead center sort of big picture going on there. And your objective is actually bordered with something to, like a panel or something that you'd see on like a Warcraft HUD or something from other games, just to give it that level of like, hey, this is important. It could be guard themed, embellished with like the lion's head or whatever of the guard motifs. But
Yeah.
that was the main split up. Was just let's split this up, center align those skulls, maybe change the name to like next enemy wave, so you really know what it means. I mean,
Mm.
I thought this was clear, but maybe
Deep
this is
Rock,
clearer.
the new Deep Rock game Road Core might have a really good reference there, where they have one skull in the top left-hand corner of
Hmm.
the screen, and it has a diamond sort of fill, and then when it gets to the top, I think the skull turns red. Um, so
See
we could do
something.
something similar. The bar fills. It doesn't have to be a. No,
See
that's
something on the
Deep
left
Rock
here. Yeah,
Survivor. Uh,
I do see something
it's
there. Yeah.
no, it's this is the
Oh,
Vampire
it's just
Survivor one.
oh, right.
Yeah, the Road Core is in alpha at the minute.
Not seeing this
Um,
one, and now I'm on the.
Portuguese.
Yeah, right. There we go. Store page. See if they've got some.
Oh no, they don't. But yeah, that might be a good reference, because I was watching a gameplay video of that and I was like, oh, that's a really good implementation there. So
See if we can get one. He's
More.
there you go.
This guy, yeah, level 1, right? Yeah.
I understand that it's easy to look at this new game and see,
Yeah,
well,
exactly. And then we could do something like pulse the skull when the event happens, or
Yep. Yeah, and
increase.
have it slide out and say like, rather than like, I mean, you've got the critical information in the middle here, which actually does
Yeah,
work quite nicely.
yeah.
But if you did what you're sort of mentioning there, you could have something that's like
Because
slides
I
out.
think the reason why I mention it is because I think as a player, if you put a giant bar filling in the
Right.
center top of the screen, I'm going to spend most of the game looking at that bar. Like it's whereas if we move it off to the side,
Yeah.
it's a bit easier to just look at it as and when you need to.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this has its own definitive area. This at least has its own definitive area. Keep our critical events in the middle. The danger close thing about the enemies behind. This game does not have a indicator.
No,
I don't even think it has like a damage indicator from like bit that was from behind you. It's just like you get
it
jam on
almost
your screen.
doesn't. I think it almost doesn't matter because if you get hit once, you tend to sort of go down. It's a very punitive game.
Yes, yes.
I really like
So what
this
I was
idea of.
thinking was rather than it being like you've been hit, it's actually like sound and footsteps. So I had a reference somewhere. I think it was like Fortnite. So this one is they've seen you and they're getting close to you, and then this one is like you've just been hit by them or something. This one is
Yeah,
turn around. There's an enemy there.
yeah. I really like this. I think
So the
Fortnite
idea wasn't about
has
getting
this.
hit. It was about like telling you ahead of
Yeah,
time like in the
I
absence of
think it's
being
one
able
of
to
the.
hear the man go ah, or when there's 5 guys going ah running at you and 3 of them are ahead, you can't really associate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. If you like it, then
I
yeah,
think it's one of the accessibility options in Fortnite.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. You can
I
turn the
think,
footsteps on. Yeah,
and I believe Warzone's got a perk as well that does a similar orange chevron when someone's aiming at you. And I really
mm.
like this idea. Actually, I think this would be a really good way of reducing player frustration.
Okay. So let's stick. So we generally like a little bit of a redesign on the HUD. We're happy to
Yeah,
do something there. We So there's a couple of options I was thinking was looking at this. Let's just cover this one. So around the reticule center screen, and then which is the same as this one here actually, and then
yeah,
this one is just like dead on the edge of your screen. You've essentially got like a like bars like saying like turn.
yeah.
What's your
My first
preference?
instinct is to keep it near the reticle.
Yeah, yeah, same. And then in that regard as well, we could actually have other indicators. So we know that health has been something that, I mean, what our player that we played with last week just didn't even know you could heal.
Yeah,
So that everything is white when it's interactable. What if it was A, green, and B, if it's an important item and you're in range and you need it, for example, it actually has this like little heal. This is Fortnite, and it has a little healing indicator to be like, you should go over and pick that up. And then same for
mm.
hostages and the important crates that you need to pick up. Glow
Oh
gold
yeah,
and have a gold thing around your HUD.
yeah. I like
So
that a lot. Yeah,
okay, yeah. So all of this.
all of the UI, all of the UI UX from.
Cool.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Fortnite.
Okay. Just circling back to time. Oh yeah, we're at 45, so we're actually only at the criticals, but we did say that
But that's okay.
it's the most important things
It's
first.
better.
So
Yeah,
we had a good
exactly.
conversation on it. Shall we go for another 5 minutes?
Yeah, yeah. We
Because there's
can
some real big
probably.
changes here that might not work.
Okay.
Stamina would help slow down and incentivize more tactical movement. So imagine instead of currently, okay, now the enemies are glowing red when they're dangerous, you know to do an action. But still, one of the best meta things to do is go in like, and we love that. And a lot of
Yeah.
players do love that. Adding a stamina bar would sort of kill some of that. But it does go back to your stacking up on the doors thing, because what you're telling players now is you've got a limited number of mega whomping that you can do. And really, what you want to do is go around the corner into the area and sort of see who you're going to lay into with your stamina, and then talk about how you're going to split up your team, or if you're solo, how you're going to use your stamina effectively. If stamina was to be added to the game, for example, what's your thoughts on that?
I think stamina, like the managing of stamina, might be a bit tricky just because it's typically found in like realistic games.
Mm.
But from looking at your notes, it did something reminded me. You know, in GTFO, when you've got to go through a door, there's that circle there, and everyone's got to stand in the
Oh
different
yeah,
circles.
yeah.
What if what if when people stand in the circles, you get a limited boost, you get like a limited bonus for that encounter. So it doesn't last forever, but it basically rewards players for waiting for one another. So fortunately in our game, the door fracture actors are like a blueprint ostensibly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we were to attach it to every instance of that blueprint, then hopefully, fingers crossed, like it should just work. Like if
On
if
all
if
the
you're in a
doors.
certain if you're around the door, yeah. If there's
Yeah, you
like a
could even have
circle,
it become like a temporary, duration of invulnerability or something.
yeah, or even mix it up so you don't know what you're going to get because we've got the tech for finishing a level where everyone's got to be in the zone.
Yeah,
So we have similar behavior already.
yeah.
We have doors as blueprints. And what I'd like to see, with my player hat on, is, hey, if we all wait and go through together, we get a bonus, and that bonus is different each time, and sort of incentivizes us to play in different ways. Like this one's bullet time. We've got the bullet time from the tutorial. Then another
Yeah.
one might be heal up. It just heals everyone. That's not a particularly tricky one. There could be one where the door becomes explosive. We had that
I love that. It's just like breaching, actually breaching clear.
we had
Um,
that as a mutate. I
yeah.
swear we had an
We don't have any.
exploding.
There is no mutations in this game, and there are some stuff. I did it. It's a shame. I'd love to do another session because I did
Hmm,
scrape your reviews and then run it through an analysis to
yeah.
get the most frequent things. And so I'll send you this.
Okay. Yeah.
But what you just said comes up on there about mutations because of like mission variety was like one of the second ones, and then solo play gets mentioned a lot apparently, um, which is annoying. I
Yeah.
know we
Solo
spoke
play
about that
does.
last week. We are like, stop
It
playing it
does.
solo.
Yeah. I thought that we kind of over communicated that it's not a single player game, but I think
Yeah, the
really
danger close
that's
circle
just
and a lot of the stuff we spoke about is going to fix the
Yeah,
solo
I
play
think
anyway.
really that's just a learning experience for us
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
studio, like
yeah.
what the audience expectation is. Because me as a gamer personally, if you told me that a game was just co-op, I'd be so up for it. I'd be like, yes, like
Hmm.
that sort of is my bias. I love really hard, really difficult co-op only experiences. Like
Yeah.
even GTFO has added bots to facilitate solo play, and
Hmm.
GTFO is like the poster child for punitive
There's an
co-op.
easy one there that we haven't even spoken about for solo play, which is you could
Yeah,
take AI guards with you. We had it for the whole time that they would be on your team, not attack you, but they would attack others, and you can pick them
yeah.
up and take them with you. And
I mean, you
so
could free them. They could be hostages that you free.
yeah, there's plenty of opportunity there. I'll write that one down as well. It's
Yeah,
just
that would
another
be a
note
cool
is
one.
AI squad essentially. Um,
And as long as we make it an option that people can toggle on and off in the settings, I think that's the most important part. Because
Speaking of
there are
toggling,
players who love how difficult the game is.
yes. Speaking of settings, um,
Yeah,
I noticed when the person played, they just jumped into host game and they didn't click any of these buttons and they just hit host game.
yeah,
And then I also noticed that we had a note that was like, some players don't know about how to like get online or play. This play online, play offline, and we split them up purposefully to get people to play online more. I was thinking just turn this into play, which pops up a full screen saying, do you want to play solo or do you want to play online? And that's your options, right? And so when you hit online, you now get, and I'm thinking, yeah, just some flow difference there might just be nicer, that it leads you through those steps rather than being all spread out. I don't understand where that feedback point came from. One thing that I wanted to that made me quickly think of this is just we've got this hard enemy reinforcements. We could have friendly fire and some other of the settings here, and we could also populate it into the gameplay settings so that, let's say you're playing, you didn't know to click friendly fire, but you're playing and someone's doing loads of friendly fire. You press escape to see if you can configure that. It is actually there. Would be nice, and even possibly change the difficulty. If you decided like, oh, normal's actually too hard, let's go to easy, that you could just flick that. Because if I remember it just changes like resistances and health of enemies and stuff. So it struck me as a shame that you had to actually kill your server to get back to this stuff, and then on player count I just remove it. I just say you can play like up to 8, and that's just like, don't worry about it. It's like, or something, I don't know, more conversation on that at some point maybe. We should.
Struggling to remember how we ended up with the. I'm struggling to imagine.
Why should we go to 17 players for fun?
We did, but I'm struggling to think why we put a. I believe it's all coming back to me now. There was a technical reason why we did it. There was a very important technical reason why we had to define it. We had to define the number of players for a reason, and that's why we had 17, because prior to that it was just infinite. It was just like indefinite number of players. But it escapes me. But we did do it for a reason.
It makes me wonder two things. It's like when you actually go to 8 and 12, it starts to become a little bit chaotic, especially for your network, and so you'll have a bad experience. And secondly, 4-player co-op is just the common thing. And I was I spoke to you about this a while ago. I was like, should we make it so that when you somehow when you host or join or whatever, it's like 4 slots very clear, something like that. But again, we could come back to that. It's kind of out of scope. Scope creep is what we'll call that.
I would I'd be wary of removing the player count one, because
something about
something in my memory is telling me that it was important and we did it for a reason. But it's been a while, and it'll come to me. I'll be doing something else. I'll be like, I'll be doing the grocery shopping in a week's time, and I'll be like, oh, that's why. That's why we did
had another last one for you. Nice little tidbit. So when you hit an enemy right now, they have this nice animation where they go, left, right, back, whichever animation they pick from a random sort. But then they sort of like recoil straight back and they get back into the fight. I was wondering if there's something there to make it feel a little bit more impactful, a little bit more almost toony, where it's really exaggerated. So you hit them, they flail back into that stance and then almost freeze for a sec, like, oh, like, I'm thinking comic book style, just really making it a little bit more punchier. So like you hit this guy, he like freezes in that spot and then goes back into his thing, and then you hit him again, he's just like, oh, freeze.
And that might really help with the readability of the combat.
Because we mentioned health bars as well, didn't we?
Yeah. Everything happens so fast that if we're actually freezing them for a couple of frames, by the time the player notices, looks, and realizes that they're stunned, it won't feel so. The pause won't feel particularly egregious.
Yeah. One other thing, or another one last thing, is
world space and make them kind of small and kind of slim.
Yeah, RPG like. Yeah.
Yeah, or Deep Rock. The original Deep Rock does that for the glyphid health, and
I saw it. It's why it reminded me, because I saw an image on I think it's, I'll just scroll past it. This one here, this guy down in the corner has just reminded me. We spoke last week about having a little And so we do
Yeah,
have
I think
boss-like enemies who have. Oh, so obviously we have kingpins, but we do have like very healthy enemies in that game.
yeah.
That could do with health bars. But yeah, if we try to put it on all the characters, we'll see. We'll see. But it was one of the points. I haven't written anything down about health bars, so I'm going to remind me here.
We can also do it based on the view, the view angle. So it doesn't need to be like everyone in the view. It could just be the ones that you're actually looking at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's just minimizing context to the important characters, basically. The ones you're looking
Yeah,
at, the ones in
I'm just
range,
looking at
the ones you've recently
the
punched.
deep rock version now, and it's basically whatever your crosshair is over, they draw the health bar for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's based on focus, yeah.
Yeah, I think
Focus
that
and
would probably
range,
be
I
it.
expect.
'Cause-
And so there is also another thing about onboarding. What we can do is we can catch up again next Wednesday, if you like, for review on some of the things that I've done. So I'm going to do some stuff tomorrow. I could always do some more on Monday and Tuesday as well, and Wednesday morning. But if you're free again next Wednesday, we could catch up again and take a look at what we've done.
Yeah, that'd be great.
On some of this, and I'll hit it in sort of the order that we hearted them, because that's just simple.
You'll have to watch the footage, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I'm happy. I know we didn't get down into the oranges and the yellows,
yeah,
but that's okay. Just focus on the stuff that's the most important.
yeah,
And yeah, if we just start at the top and work our way down, I'm pretty happy with the solutions that you guys came up with.
totally. Perfect. All right. It's been a good session. I've had a good time chatting, navigating through different ideas there. I'll get in touch with you anyway offline. And that is it for Scope Creep number 1. Well, you didn't see the last episode where we actually played the game. But in the future, you'll see us play the game. Thanks,
Yeah,
man.
maybe we
Thanks
can
very
play
much.
it with the improvements are in.
Oh, well, yeah, perfect. Exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right,
Awesome.
thanks.
Thanks very much, dude.
All
Catch
right,
you
take
offline.
it easy.
Yeah,
Bye
see
bye.
ya. All right. To everyone else on the call, we'll be back every week on Wednesdays. We're going to do these with different guests, and we're going to play, plan, and produce different iterations for indie devs video games. So if you're interested, please leave like and subscribe, but also you can message us through that subscription or through the comments on the video, and we'll get in touch and sort something out where we can do a similar process with you. It's completely philanthropic, completely on my time of streaming, so I'm open to help. So cheers everyone, and